recording. All right, gang, let's change this view so everybody can see this. Slideshow, fabulous. Okay, so this is tactic 6, which is internet lead capture and conversion. This is actually, I'm really excited to do this because for a lot of people prior to now, this was somewhat expensive to set up. Like I know, Juan, you can speak to this, something that you had wanted to do last year. And what would you say every time that you checked to get like a quote for what it would cost to set it up? What were some of the numbers that you were getting from the companies that you were talking to about this?
$750, $1,500. It was kind of pricey to get somebody to do this. It really was.
Yep. And what's awesome is that every single person who hangs their license with Keller Williams, at this point, you get all of that infrastructure that was built for free, and then it's really simple to set up. In fact, that's one of the webinars that Brandon's going to be leading in the coming weeks, and there are going to be different points in today's webinar where I'm going to actually call on him to share about certain aspects of how this all works and what it takes to set it up. So here we go. Main ideas is we're going to start with the perspective on internet lead capture and conversion. And then we're going to talk about the internet's role in real estate, which everybody knows is, drastically changed over the years, and now integral to how people buy and sell their home. And then we're going to go into the 4 C's, So perspective, now more than ever, consumers are super connected and informed about everything real estate related. Like I remember when, let's see, I'm going to be 40. So I remember when I was a kid, it was like, if you wanted to, buy a property, you had to go call a realtor, and then there was like this big book, and it had like all the properties in it, and you really couldn't buy or sell your home or any property for that matter without the realtor. Obviously, nowadays that has changed, and statistics show that almost every real estate client does some independent research on their own using the internet and various internet lead services. So that includes the internet itself, Google searches, different websites like Zillow or Trulia or Redfin, social media, and then mobile apps, which some of those websites also have really robust mobile tools that people use on the go and are getting alerts on the go. And we have the opportunity to also take advantage of those same methods, right? You have the opportunity to create your website or your landing page coming up in the first 5 hits on a Google search. You can create a social media following and interact with clients that way. And then we now have a mobile app that you can brand for your team or yourself as an individual agent, and then have your clients download that, and they can search on that like they would search on, a Redfin or Trulia app. So what we want to make sure that people understand, though, about internet leads is you want the online interactions to complement your personal touch. It's not either or, meaning that you're going to only interact with the client via like email or them going on your website. What we're going to talk about in today's webinar is how you're going to use the internet or use social media or the mobile app to create a big funnel to get people into your web. And then we're going to talk about how you are going to nurture them using various touches that both include, email and the internet, but also personal touches as you connect and cultivate them to a signed contract and then hopefully a transaction and a closing. So here's one of the things that I think is really important to distinguish up first is, when is a lead a lead? So when you use the internet to lead generate, you're going to get a massive volume, and then it's going to be about distilling that down to the most, I don't want to say impactful, but the people who are ready, willing, and able at the moment, and the people who are going to be ready, willing, and able in the future. And then there's going to be hits, right, which are people who come to the site. Then there are going to be inquiries, people who click a learn more button or fill out a contact form. And then there is when that becomes a lead, meaning that person has essentially raised their hand and shown you that they are motivated and able to transact at some point soon. So one of the things that happens though with internet leads is because it's a volume game and we're getting a bunch of leads and then we're working to distill those down to the people who are ready now. And then we're filling our pipeline with those people through drip campaigns so that as they start to get ready later, we're still in touch with them and they're using us. You have to have a well-designed follow-up system. Otherwise, those people are going to fall through the cracks and it's going to be impossible to, if you are, let's say, getting 40 or 50 leads a day, keep up with, organize, and categorize those people at the end of 7 days, right? That's a lot of leads, 350 leads, so that you're not letting potential business like fall to the wayside. So Brandon, I'm going to call on you now just to start to tell us, like, when you set some of these things up, how is Command already set up for you to have the follow-up built in?
Sure. So in the smart plans, right, you can customize smart plans. You can create them from scratch. And one of the touches in that smart plan would be a task. A touch task is what they call it. And, you could set that touch task up to be a call reminder or anything that you want it to remind you to do so that when you log into the homepage in the morning on your KW Command platform, it'll remind you, call so-and-so, right? Or whatever the task is, it would be custom to what you make it, but it could be included as one of the steps in the smart plan so that it emails the person the first day you meet them, and then it waits 5 days and sends them a text, and then it waits 3 days, and then it reminds you to call them. That could be how you could set that smart plan up, right?
Right, and then you could also categorize people and put them on different smart plans, because we're going to talk about this a little bit later, where you, with these leads especially, are going to need to do the due diligence with the client to find out, okay, how far out are they from actually being ready to transact? And then you want to make sure that you're putting them on a smart plan that has touches that correspond to that. So that if somebody has said, look, I'm not ready, to move for 6 to 12 months, that's not somebody you want to be communicating with every 3 days or every week. That's somebody who you want to be sending them useful information on the process, on getting ready, right? Like, maybe, there are different things you're going to do if you want to buy a house a year from now, right, than a month from now. If you're wanting to buy a house a year from now, well, you're going to want to start looking at oh, what's my credit look like? Okay, what do I need to have as a target for saving for the down payment? So you're going to talk to these leads differently and at a different interval as far as time goes, depending on how close they are to being ready. That's going to be on both the buy side and the sell side. Okay, so we're going to keep rolling. So here's the challenge, right, is getting the motivated leads first. Because one of the things that people fail to, well, maybe they don't fail to, but often don't think about, is somebody who is hitting you up online and showing up in your system as an internet lead. They are not only clicking on your website or clicking find more on only your property. They're probably online looking at a series of properties, clicking to get information from multiple agents. And that's why it's really important to set yourself out from the crowd. How do you do that? Well, by being the local economist / market expert. They'll be able to distinguish as they talk to 3 or 4 agents, right, at any given point in time, like, wow, this person really knew all the comps, and this person listed multiple properties in that area and was able to talk to me about those transactions. Or this person's got a ton of experience in explaining the process and asking me the right questions. And then you want to make sure that you're also, if you're driving traffic to your website, meaning, having a conversation with someone or having an opportunity where they're clicking something that sends them to your webpage, that you are capturing inquiries there. And then you always want to make a great first impression. You only have the first 30 seconds, 60 seconds tops to connect with that person. So when you're following up on an internet lead, you want to make sure that you're getting back to them within 3 to 5 minutes, 7 minutes tops. What does that mean? You might be on the road and get a chime on your phone that you just got a new lead. That means pulling over and calling that person, because they probably hit up 3 or 4 agents. And if you're not first, they're going to go with the person who called them back right away. And then you want to follow up on every inquiry. Sometimes people are going to put their information in and they're not going to want to talk to you right away. No problem. But you don't want to say, oh my gosh, this person didn't respond to my email or didn't pick up my call, and then not put them into your database. You want to put everybody into the database. You want to try to call everybody within that first 3 to 5, leave a really awesome message, and then, you know, get them on a trip, right? And you want to make sure that if you haven't spoken to them, you put them on something that's fairly generic and not too aggressive, because that's where people can start to get turned off. If, you know, you call them and they don't want to talk to you, and then you start emailing them every 3 days and calling them in between. So the internet and real estate, who uses the internet? Basically everybody, both buyers and sellers. Statistics show that 90% of all home buyers search online. That's even if they're working with an agent. So what does that mean? That means that even though you're taking them on field trips and you've got them on a drip campaign for your MLS, they're still, like, you know, online at night searching other sources. And then the same thing, 89% are using mobile devices to search online. So some people have really beautiful websites that are not mobile device enabled, and it looks crazy on a cell phone. You're really shooting yourself in the foot if you're in that situation, or if whatever follow-up technology you're using isn't mobile friendly, because that's when most of these people are actually searching and looking. So if you're sending an email that when they click the link, it goes to a web page that hasn't been set up to be looked at on a smartphone, bad idea, because that is where 89% of the people who open your email are going to be looking at it from. So, you know, what's the good news here? Agents bridge the gap between internet research and the home purchase. 88% of people who are buying a home actually use an agent. So that's where that calling back right away, being the market expert, and making a great first impression can be the difference. And there are people who end up using an agent because they were recommended by a friend or a family member, and that person isn't the market expert, but you have them click on something online, and then you get on the call and provide value and stay in touch with them more than the person who they intended to use. And you actually have the opportunity to convert those people. So even people who have an agent, while you want to respect that, you still always want to follow up, ask that question, and make a great first impression. So here are some truths, right? A great website might bring you a lot of visitors, but it does take more than that website for you to get a customer. You got to do the things that we talked about 2 slides ago, and make sure that, you know, you're able to answer their questions about not only that home, but the area. And you want to make sure that you're not sounding rushed or distracted on those calls. You know, if you have to step out, keep it short and sweet. Let them know, hey, I wanted to get right back to you and make sure I answered your question, and I wanted to set up a time for us to have a more in-depth conversation so I can better serve your needs. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. So what are you guys hearing in this? Because I think well, I'll tell you my reason for asking the question is I want you to get that it's a totally different interaction. You want to look at your internet leads separate from your sphere phone calls, or like even just your basic cold calls where you get a list from Kevin or one of the other title reps and you just start calling through. This is distinct. It's really critical here that you interview that client and find out what their motivation is. You find out how soon they're looking to do something, and then you make sure that you're staying in touch with them every step of the way. and looking for, okay, if somebody says they're 6 months out, really 6 weeks out is when they're probably going to want to start looking at visiting properties. So you want to make sure that you have some touches in there that don't happen within that 6-week time frame from the day that you met them, right? If they say, I want to be, you know, in my home by July, that you're not calling them in June. You need to call them in May, before May, in fact. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, so let me go back to where I was. Because this is one of the big problems that people have, is they get a bunch of leads. They don't put a system in place to follow up with the ones that aren't ready right now. And then they take the handful that are ready to transact, and then it's just all of this work, and you never get the pipeline going, which is what an internet-based lead system really thrives on. Is it's getting that funnel going, finding the ones that are ready for right now, and then having a systematized way of following up with everybody else, so that when you're ready, those clients are lined up and you're transacting consistently. And then the one thing that we do know is that buyers and sellers are looking for help and trusted advice from an agent. So you want to make sure that that is who you're being on the phone. When, you know, you don't want to necessarily lead with, like, let's say maybe your personality, right? You want to lead with creating value and making sure that you can give them access to information that they don't have themselves, because this is somebody who's already educating themselves using Google and these other websites. And then, like I said, internet lead capture and conversion is a number game based on volume. So you got to get a lot of leads and then distill them down, capture and convert them. What do you guys think the conversion rate is for internet leads? Because I want to make sure that you guys are clear about the distinction between these leads and other leads, right? We were talking about that the average conversion that we have set up as the baseline in command is 65%, right? What do you guys think it is for internet leads?
Maybe 10%.
Say that again, I didn't hear you.
Maybe 10%.
Not even. The average is 5. You're like killing it if you're at 6%. So why do I highlight that? Because I want you guys to understand how many leads you have to go through with internet-based leads to find the ones that are going to do something. And you can't spend a ton of time on them, which is why automation is going to be really critical. So that means making sure that every single one of those leads is on a smart plan, and that you're diligently cycling through and touching them, because what we do know is that they will transact, and it's not necessarily as competitive if you do it correctly. So sellers on the internet, most of the time those guys are hopping on to browse and analyze research in the market. They're looking at, oh, what did the neighbor's house sell for? How many houses are there for sale? They go on there to look for comps, and there's usually no loyalty across agents or companies. They're just trying to find the info. So, you know, saying that, well, somebody, you know, has logged into my website and is looking at it ongoingly, I trust they're going to call me when they're ready to do something. Research shows they don't. You actually have to connect with that person and have a meaningful connection such that they consider you a valuable resource and actually do decide to use you when the time comes. And how can you do that? Well, you can create that value in helping them understand the home selling process. So they want to experience, wow, this is somebody who really knows how this works and is going to be my partner and provide me some value that I can't access myself in getting my house ready to be sold, listed, and marketed effectively so that I get the best price and get it done quickly. So you want to make sure that if that's what they're looking for, you're able to speak to that when you interact with them. And I don't mean only when you actually speak to them. You also want to make sure that your marketing, whatever smart plan or email or communication you're having with them, keeps this fact in mind, that this is what they want to hear about from you. And then buyers, research shows that they start early in their timeline. So on average, your buyer leads, you are going to be getting a ton of buyer leads from people who are not even close to being ready to do something now. So you want to know that and be prepared to nurture them. And, you know, they're browsing to start to understand what they can get for their money. And then those guys are typically, when they get ready to go, super prepared. They also will often look at multiple websites and, you know, search online and look at houses online versus driving to an open, especially if they're not ready. So those are people who, where can you provide value? They want to understand that home buying process. You want to make sure you're doing a really effective interview and that you're getting them to a lender that you can trust with the long-term nurturing clients, so that they can start to get pre-approved. And then you want to make sure you're also following up with them to stay connected through that process. You know, okay, this person doesn't have a down payment because they're 6 to 12 months out. You know, how's that coming? What do you need? Have you heard from Tom? Oh, you haven't. You're waiting for him to send you this. Okay, let me give him a call. So you got to stay connected with these guys as you move them through your pipeline. And then the biggest thing for all of this is you've got to use technology to nurture the clients that you're getting through technology. The biggest way is obviously going to be command. And then there's also social media, you know, instant message. So this is one of the things that I think is really, really significant, that for everybody who is using Facebook, for example, to generate leads, is you can set up a bot. So what does that mean? That means that as you drive traffic to your Facebook business page, you can have a little like box pop up, like a chat box. And it looks like it's you, but it's not really you. And it just says, hey, I know you're browsing, wanted to see if you had any questions, if there's anything I can help you with. And it allows you to start the conversation. Some of them have auto-generated responses that'll go back immediately without you having to do anything. And then you can look at it. It just buys you some time, basically. And then you can look at it and call that person or interact with them directly later. And then obviously emailing videos, super, super, I want to say effective way of communicating with people. It's easy, it's quick. It allows you to actually have a personalized communication that you can set up when it's convenient for you, but the client experiences that you took time out to do something special for them. We found that this is really a really effective way to nurture, connect, and have it be a touch for your clients. Okay, so everybody should have a website. Now, we make it easy for you, and we have one that's beautiful that you can customize fairly easily. And here are the reasons that you really need to have one, and a couple of things that you want to make sure that you do when you have it is it allows you to promote your listings, number one. It allows you to put up content that helps buyers and sellers understand the process, and also knowing that that's what most of the time people who are wanting to look at websites about real estate, that's what they're hoping to understand, which is the process or data. So if your website doesn't have those two things, that's something you can immediately add and have it be more effective in your lead gen. And then it's also an opportunity for you to communicate with buyers and sellers. So you want to make sure you always have that contact page, or you can have a little bot that pops out on the side and allows them to ask you questions. And then it's also, you know, a way for you to kind of have an electronic office. Obviously, our websites connect to command, and the interactions that people are having on those websites, you will have that data when you go back to your database, which is huge. I mean, it matters if you see that, oh my gosh, Nicole Grant is literally logging into my website to look at my MLS data and search property every single day. I better call her. She's like probably ready to go. Make sense, you guys?
Yep.
Okay, so the 4 C's: capture, connect, cultivate, and convert. And then there's the opportunity to create a customer for life. Now, this is something that I feel like is just huge in terms of using our technology specifically, because we make it so easy for you guys to do that in multiple ways. It's not just that Command is this really robust CRM. I feel like the most significant way that we're able to do this more effectively than some of the other services out there is that ours connects to all of the other technology tools that you use. So that means that, you know, you're able to, you know, capture, connect, and cultivate from your website, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I mean, what am I missing, Brandon? Right?
Twitter. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's unprecedented, right? Because every other company, if you were at Coldwell, if you were at Sotheby's, you need to log into each one of those things and put up your marketing. You can do it all from one place with ours. And you can also capture clients and capture internet leads from all of those places and have them show up in Command, and then put people on smart plans and drip campaigns from Command that allows you to cultivate them after you've connected initially, and then put additional touches in so that you know every day, okay, I need to call this section of my database because they're all on this one particular drip and it's time for a call. And then once you start converting them, you get to stay in touch with them using these same tools, which we know creates a customer for life. Most people who do a transaction, when interviewed after the fact, say they would use their first agent for every subsequent transaction, but 9 times, I don't even think it's 9 times out of 10, I think it's like 8 times out of 10, after that agent completes a transaction, they don't hear from them again. So that's where we say that if you're putting you have a past client touch that you're, putting people on, you can do it a year out, and then in December, redo it for the next year and put in there that you're going to call them once a year, twice a year to say hi, see how they're doing with the home, and see who they know that might want to do a transaction. That is how you can automate for yourself, creating a customer for life using technology and the internet, which is central to all of our lives. So this is like what the funnel looks like. So we capture a ton, then we connect with them, and then we cultivate them over time. And everybody's going to go through this process. How far out they are is how long it takes. But this is the process for everyone, from the person who's ready to do something in the next 7 to 10 days to the person that it takes you 3 years to actually do a transaction. And then as we look at these various stages, you see the second triangle shows, well, how much time is required from you to spend with those clients at each stage in the funnel, right? From capture to conversion. And then this is also what it looks like in the third triangle, how much leverage you're able to use in that process. So up front in the capture stage, that's where we can automate a ton, use technology a ton. And then as you get down towards connecting and cultivating them at a certain point, you're going to be able to use, or it's going to be more effective to use less technology and more of your time, your personal touch, phone calls, things like that are more individualized versus automated to get them to convert. Does anybody have questions about that before we move on? Because this is really important that you guys see that. Because what a lot of agents make the mistake of is they flip that triangle on time. And they spend a ton of time in the beginning with these people, trying to capture them. And then if they're not converting right away, they kind of toss them to the side. You want to take as many as you can, connect with as many as you can, use leverage to help you do that. Your responses from those people will indicate to you who's ready sooner. And then those are going to be people that you're going to move down this first triangle faster and spend time with. And you need to use systems to get everybody else into some sort of automated way to stay in touch with them until their responses back to you indicate, okay, they're ready to go. Brandon, do you want to share a little bit about this? Because he came from 2 teams where this is primarily how they generated most of their leads in terms of what this looks like from capture down to cultivate with regards to the volume and then distilling it down over time.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, everything you're saying is spot on. I mean, I worked for 3 agents, right, within Keller Williams, one of them being Stephanie Vitaco, who, even though had a database of, 5,000 past clients, stayed in touch with them, right, via emails. But it is, yeah. I mean, it definitely is right on, Nicole, like what you're saying about staying in touch, using the automated email campaigns, you know, through command. It also can text people for you. So it really does look even more real, right? Some systems don't allow auto text messages to go out. You know, and each of those text messages costs less than a cent per text. So, you know, is it, yeah, I mean, is it worth the money? Yes, it's a couple dollars, right? To send out a text once every 4 months that's automated that says, hey, how are you doing?
Or
Right.
even
But
just you could do the holiday ones, right? You know,
the
like if
holiday ones,
he's not at least texting
yeah,
every past client or prospective client, like
yep,
wishing you a happy holidays,
yeah, yeah,
always here if you need anything, Nicole. Like they're
yeah,
just these little things, you guys, that it's automated. It's so easy to do. And
yeah,
you will stay front of mind for these people and you will generate business. You just got to set it up and use the system
yeah.
so that you're ongoingly talking to and touching everybody that you can.
You know, and there's the neighborhood snap report, right? The neighborhood snapshot report. That's a great email once a month, right? If that, I mean, I had an agent that paid, you know, $50 a month to subscribe to a system that could do that. And it was really effective for her. And she put anybody and everybody that she met on a neighborhood snapshot report, right? It was like her thing that she provided to people. And even if they weren't selling or buying for you, like you said, Nicole, 6 to 8 months, it was something that they got that was of value from her. And so, yeah, I mean, you can do that in command for free.
That's right. All right, let's keep moving. Okay, so this is one of the things that we've talked about repeatedly on like almost everything that I ever lead is when you're doing these different marketing campaigns, you want to have like an offer for immediate response or like a call to action, right? Where you get the client to do something, which is essentially raise their hand. And then it gives you the opportunity to figure out, okay, well, what do they want to do and when do they want to do it? So a couple of different ways that you can, or kind of like bait things that you can use to have people click on it or, send you their information or give you their email is, Best Buys list. You can create in the MLS searches that will then create an email and then send it to your database of like new hot buys. You could do it based on price point and location and square footage or beds and baths. You can give people the opportunity to sign up for instant notifications, like where they can go onto your website that's IDX linked and set up their own searches and get an email every time something hits the market that meets their criteria. You can have a find out what your home is worth button. You guys can see all of these. And then obviously automated guidance, which is going to be like one of those bots where you set it up and they ask questions and then it populates like the response box with like links to articles relating to whatever they searched. You can create little lists, which again, it's like you do it out of the MLS and you can do this in every MLS search. They could probably do it themselves, but you do it and market it like something special you're doing and then send it out to them. Foreclosures, distress sales. It's just a search that you get to have the properties pulled and it automates it in email and you send it to those people. And then free reports on the market. I mean, whatever board or MLS you belong to, they have those that come out regularly. It's really easy to download and kind of like repurpose those onto your website or your blog or take out little blurbs and send those as downloadable links in your like email campaigns, right? Like you found this really great marketing piece on like how to get your like the 10 best ways to get your yard ready with curb appeal, and then you just put a link to that and you send it out in an email, and it gets people to interact with you without interacting with you. And this is one of the ways that we nurture and generate internet leads. And then there's the opportunity to capture with filters, so registrations. Skinny bait is where you're trying to drive traffic to different pages on your site and you never ask for the information, meaning like, all of us are on those sites, you search around for 10, 15 minutes and then a box comes up and it like requires you to put in your contact info to learn more. Rarely will you ever get more than an email and a name. Some people still put the box for a phone number. I don't recommend that you require that because oftentimes you get fake numbers. If you put it as optional, you have a much better chance of getting somebody who actually wants you to call them. And then fat bait is where we say it's registration required. So skinny bait is where you have it and there's no registration required, but there's all these different opportunities for them to, you know, click learn more and put in their info because you've created enough value that they actually want to hear from you. Fat bait is where it's like, okay, well, we let you do 5 searches on our IDX and now you've got to create an account and give me your email address. And you have the opportunity to pick what the settings are. You could even, if you're doing it on like seller landing pages or things like that, where you can ask if they put in their address. Again, the research shows that you want to make that stuff optional because when you make it mandatory, you rarely get the correct info. People get weird about that. They're not ready yet. They just want to look and they don't want to feel like now they're stuck with having you call them or send them stuff, especially because we know they're not only looking on your site, they're looking at 3, 4, 5 sites at a time. Okay. So we just talked about this, registration forms, minimum name and email. Do the others is optional. I also recommend that you give people the opportunity to click buyer, seller, or both. And then you've got to have your system set up where you get a notification to capture. So that means that it's got to notify you some way. And oftentimes you can pick which way, but whichever way you pick, you want it to be something that you are going to see right away. Why do you guys need to see it right away?
So you can follow up.
Yep, because we've got that 5 to 7 minute max follow-up time.
Right.
Do you guys remember why it's 5 to 7 minutes max?
Because they'll call another agent.
Correct. And on internet leads, it's whoever comes with the answer first. That's who gets the opportunity. Okay. Because we know they don't just, you know, drop it into your website, Lynette, and then see, oh, well, she hasn't called me back yet. They want the answers now because that's what the internet's about, instant gratification. So Lynette takes too long, they're going to hit up Juan next. And then he doesn't answer great. They're going to hit up Io next. And then let's say Lynette, Io, and Juan all call them back. Now they're going to compare you. So if you get on that call sounding rushed or you can't answer their question or you're like, I got to get back to you on that, and you're not an expert in the neighborhood and you don't know what the local elementary school is, you got a problem. They're like, Lynette doesn't know what she's talking about. Let's see if Juan knows.
Right.
Okay. So you want to stop and think, right? I love these stop and thinks. Like, what is your current capture system? Or if for some of you, it's like, oh my gosh, like I don't even have a basic website that's linked to my Facebook page that allows people to search real estate. If you don't do that, that's one of the things Brandon and Trish have been calling you all like endlessly for the last month to help you set up. And this is something that works on its own. It brings you leads. A lot of you are always asking, well, how do I get on a team? Why do you want to get on a team? Because you want someone to give you leads. You don't need anybody to give you leads. You can set this up for free or very low cost and generate them on your own. And then you want to look at this, you know, what offers do you make so that you can get people to stay and click through around on your page? And then do you require registration? If you don't, you want to set that up because you might be driving traffic to your page, but now you're not creating any leads because nobody's required to give you their info so you can stay in touch with them. And then how many inquiries each day, week, or month? You want to track that so that you can start to know what your conversion rate is and then start to drive those numbers so that you can do more and more business over time. And then here are the keys to connecting. We've talked about this. Respond as quickly as possible. Make sure you're providing value, and speed counts because they're going to go to the next one. And then when you connect, you want to always do that initial connection within the first 5 to 7 minutes so that you can answer their question. I want to see this house. Okay, great. When? Right? And then you want to at least respond to their inquiry immediately, but you always want to have the opportunity to do that second connect. Remember what we talked about last week? You have your first one and then you're going to have a second one. You need either that first one or that second connection to be the process where you do the needs analysis and you do the interview so you can identify the motivation, readiness. Are we talking about now? A month from now, 6 months from now, you can do the basics on the buy side. Do you have a job? Do you know your credit score? Okay, well, let's start there. You got to find that out. What are we doing about your down payment? Are you pre-approved, right? And then you want to set an appointment for the buyer once they're pre-approved. Okay, now you're going to come to the office and I'm going to walk you through what this process looks like. But if you haven't first found out the beginning part, you might have already shot yourself in the foot, right? Because if you don't know how soon somebody needs to be into their next house, you're not going to be able to drive the timeline effectively and provide the service that's going to actually have you win. And then you also want to make sure that you are looking to build a relationship. You want to actually connect with that person, you know, find out a little bit about them, share with them a little bit about you, not like, you know, in a way that doesn't make sense. But if someone's got a family, you know, I'll often say, oh my gosh, I have 2 kids too. What do you know, oh, you've got 2 boys. That's awesome. You know, I've got daughters. Now, you don't want to make it about you, but sometimes shared experiences are a way that you can connect with the prospect. And then you obviously want to make sure that you are giving them the experience that it's not a one size fits all transaction, like that you don't just care about getting the property sold or getting them into the new house so that you get a commission. Remember, they're wanting to see these 3 things. You know, does Brandon care about me? Do I trust Brandon? And can Brandon actually help me? So you want to make sure that you're always having those 3 things in the back of your mind, that everything you're saying and everything you're doing in your connections with these people when you have those conversations is to do those things. Move the buyers to pre-approval, and then action plans for non-urgent inquiries. So what does that mean? Somebody who's not ready now, you want to make sure that you've got that SMART plan or that action plan set up. So we know what we do with the people who are 3 months out, 6 months out, 1 year plus. So here are the contact rules. You want to try back within 3 to 7 minutes. If it's a busy signal, call again within 5 to 10 minutes. You can try up to 3 times. Be friendly and relax, and then always answer questions with questions. What does that mean? So that means if Brandon calls, you know, if Brandon calls me and says, you know, I want to know how long it's going to take you to sell my house. And then I'm going to say, okay, well, that depends. Let me ask you a couple questions about the property. Right? So when they ask you questions, you don't want to not answer, but you want to make sure that you're finding out as much information in answering their question as you possibly can. How much is my home worth? Okay, let me ask you a couple questions about your home so I can tell you the answer. How many bedrooms do you have? How many bathrooms do you have? Do you happen to know the square footage? Why don't you give me the address, right? And then you always want to close for an appointment. Now, you don't want to close for an appointment just because you want them to give you an appointment. You always want to use a value proposition in closing for the appointment. If it's a buyer, okay, well, there's, you know, it's really competitive out here right now. And there's a series of steps that we use with all of our clients to help them be more competitive when we go after homes, because we're often seeing within your price point with that number of beds and baths, all of the properties in our area where you're looking, you know, usually get about 3 to 6 offers per home. And we have, you know, a proven system that helps us get to the top of that heap. And I want to walk you through that process. Would you be able to come to the office tomorrow or Friday and I can walk you through it? You know, and you want to do the same thing on the list side. So you don't want to just close for the appointment like, well, I'd like to meet with you. Nobody cares, really. Nobody has time to have a meeting because you want to meet with them. You want to always lead with what they're going to get by meeting with you. Share with them, well, I'd like, you know, would it be of value for me to share with you these 5 steps in getting your house ready to be listed? Great. Why don't I come by on Saturday morning and I'll walk you through it. Anybody have questions about that?
No.
The other thing I really want to say that's really, really important, there was a time I probably spent about 6 months where I was working on a team calling through internet leads. It's, you really want to be friendly and relaxed. People are kicking tires and you want to be responsible for that. Meaning when I say relaxed, I mean, when somebody says, you know what, I was really just looking, you want to make that okay. You want to make that more than okay. Like, oh my gosh, Brandon, that's awesome. And I'm hoping that the website is useful for you. You know, in fact, did you know that if you created an account, you can like save all your favorites and it'll update you when they go into pendings and sold. And then you always can call me whenever you have questions or want to see anything. And I'll probably check back with you every few months since you said you're not really ready until the end of the year or beginning of next. Like that. Versus somebody says, I'm not ready for the next year. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, then, you know, call me if you need something. Like, no, you want to make it like, oh, you're just looking, that's awesome. Right?
And one other thing, Nicole, that I'll add, you know, the KW consumer app is also something that you can provide to people now of value. It is a home search app where they can create an account and you can track what they're looking for, what they're clicking on. You know, if they add new cities to their search, like, you know, you could recommend that they use your app, right? Versus using Zillow or Trulia, which you won't be able to track what they're looking at over the next 6 months. So it's another way for you to stay in touch with them and have your name at the top of their mind when it comes time to actually, you know, acting on their, you know, buying or selling their house. So.
And there's a script on the differences between our consumer app and what they would get on Redfin or Trulia or Zillow. I'm going to find that. Brandon and I are going to find that, and we're going to go ahead and add that to the scripts library that we're creating, which, by the way, we will have that ready to roll out as far as the scripts and the dialogues, like we're the Zooms where you're going to be able to call in and practice. Mahogany is going to be leading those. We're going to start them next week, and we're actually going to be doing one on Saturdays because there might be people who, depending on what their day job is, you know, we have a lot of dual career agents in the market center. We wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to participate. So it'll be one Saturday morning, which I think if you're able to get on that, go ahead and hop on and get a shot in the arm so you're ready to rock and roll Monday morning. And then we're going to do another one. And then we're going to set more the Zoom room in either Brandon and guys to practice with. Get on at 9 a.m., do it for 30 minutes, and then get going on the phone. So that's something that we're going to actually be setting up for all of you so that as you set this up for yourself, you know what to say when you get on the phone to call these guys and you know, get them into your database and do the interview for the buyers and the sellers who've raised their hands. So the outcome, you've reached the person, right? They put in their info, you call them, you introduce yourself, you want to thank them for visiting your website, and then here's a series of questions that's going to be really important to ask. You're going to want to do the assessment, you know, which we still got to get those forms up for you. And then depending on where they are in the process, you're going to then take the appropriate action. You always want to be closing for an appointment every time. Even with those people who were a little ways out, because there's something that happens when you get in front of someone, there's just a deeper connection that happens there. Now, are you going to want to sit there and spend an hour with that person? Probably not, but you can definitely, you know, take the time, do a 15 to 20 minute consultation, walk them through the process, let them know you're going to, you know, have them connect with your lender and what that person is going to do. Just provide value. I think that, you know, sometimes we think, well, if they're not ready to go, we're not going to meet with them. I think for a more seasoned agent where you're busier, you might not have time, but for somebody who's newer, why not? It's an opportunity to get masterful at those meetings. I think you should always ask. And if you have the opportunity, go ahead and do the consultation. So your Connect system, you want to make sure that you're set up to connect with your people quickly if they reach out to you, that you're not calling them back at the end of the day or 2 hours later. We got to stay in that 3 to 7 minute range. And then as we cultivate, we want to be providing continuous value and cement the relationship with action plans. So people who want to learn what it's going to take, that's why they're on the internet, you guys, to learn something about what it's going to take to buy or sell their home. You want to make sure that you have those action plans and opportunities for people to look at that part of whatever they're trying to do, right? Like, okay, if I'm a buyer, what are some things that I can do to get myself ready, you know, with regards to credit, with regards to pre-approval, with regards to saving for a home. Same thing if you're getting ready to sell your home and you want to just keep in touch with them often enough to maintain top of mind status and increase your opportunity to convert that appointment. If you stay in touch with them, the chances get better and better over time that they're going to pick up your phone call when you have that touch point in your smart plan that you're supposed to call them and reach out. So you want to stop and look at what your cultivation system looks like. There's some of you that are using command right now and you've got people in there not on a smart plan. That's what you want to shift from. And then we talked about this already. You want to, you know, ask for an appointment at every opportunity and lead with the purpose of that appointment and make sure the purpose is really to provide value for the client. And then you want to make sure that you come from contribution, always what you're going to be able to do for them, how you're going to be able to help them, what information you're going to be able to provide them that they can't necessarily get themselves. And you want to know your numbers, know your area. So how's a way that you can know that? Well, some of you are going to be setting up landing pages and it's going to be based around a city. Inglewood Homes for Sale, South LA Homes for Sale, right? Baldwin Hills Homes for Sale, viewparkhouses.com. You want to make sure that if you are going to set up a landing page called viewparkhouses.com, well, you want to know the numbers off the top of your head in View Park, don't you? What's the average home price, right? What's a 2-bedroom typically go for? Are there not many 2-bedrooms there? Do they have condos? You know, there are going to be places that people are going to be like, well, I want a condo in this area. Well, that's actually, you know, there's only these 2 buildings in that area. Beyond that, and this is what the average price point is. Beyond that, if you're at 500,000 to 600,000, that's going to work for you. If you're below that, well, we're going to want to move you over here and let me send you some information about that. What's your email, right? There you go. So here's the bottom line, everybody. And I'm going to send this out. You want to understand the needs of the buyers and sellers and make offers that generate an immediate response, which we call, you know, like a call to action. Focus your time on the highly motivated buyers and sellers and the people that get to the bottom of that pyramid, meaning you've cultivated them to the point that now they're actually ready to do something. And you want to focus on the leads, and we want to consider especially internet leads, only a lead when it's someone who's ready, willing, and able to buy real estate in the near future. And there are no bad inquiries or bad hits or bad prospects, as we like to call them. You just need to follow up on all of them. And then you want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up with like a massive Facebook budget. If you don't have the automated systems in place to be able to capture those people into the funnel, you have some automation to set up to follow up with them. Because if you get 60 a day on top of what you already have, you're not going to have time to call all those people and you're going to lose those quote unquote leads. So I want everybody, you know, Brandon put into a Google Drive folder the student manuals for all of these. The action plan for what to do here is going to be on page 47, 48. It's critical that you guys actually go in there and write down the steps. We're going to facilitate that with most of you as we do these calls to set up your technology. But where you can start is just by looking at what you do or don't have right now ready to go. And then figure out, okay, what are you going to take on, especially as we're in the shelter in place. Now's the time to do it. You can set this stuff up now. And is everybody ready to do business? Some people are, but some people aren't. However, once we come out of this, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to want to transact and some people who are going to really, really need to. And you are going to have a massive opportunity with internet generated leads, whether you're doing Facebook leads or landing pages or finding opportunities to drive content to your website with SEO optimization, which we're going to do a class on that in the near future. Does anybody have questions? No? Don't be shy.
Not yet.
Not yet? Well, this
Hi.
Hi. Hey,
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. I'm doing good, thank you. I'm wondering the new script that you have. You said you have some new scripts. It does include how we're setting this appointment up I had some issues with an online person. They reached out to me on my website and they asked a lot of questions, but when it came down to me asking for the appointment, it kind of went flat. I said, I'm happy to do a FaceTime with you, or, I can come to the property and wear my gear and all of that stuff. So I just feel like, people don't really want you in their homes. So, and a lot of the older people are not going to FaceTime. So I'm feeling stuck.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And that, I think that's a situation where maybe what you do is you look at a way to set it up via a phone call, and you really push for what the next action's going to be. Meaning, okay, I'm going to walk you through this, and then we're going to, so you don't give away the whole kit and caboodle. It's like, we're going to start here, and then once you're here, then I'm going to call you in 2 weeks, and we're going to do the next part, because this is going to be the best way for us to work together through this time period as we get you set up to go. I think that's going to be the way, because what you're pointing to really does make sense, right? Because Heather's, point, it's a really valid point. You don't want to give everything up if you haven't had the chance to have that connection, because the likelihood goes down that they're going to meet with you. They're going to give the deal to the person they get that face-to-face with. But how do we manage that if we're not dealing with a tech savvy person and we can't actually go over there? So I think breaking it up piece by piece, and then setting the next date per se is going to be the way to go.
Okay. Gotcha.
What do you think about that? I mean, I think this is uncharted waters.
Well,
but
hell, I don't know. I'm just trying, I'm doing the best I can with what I got. But, I think it just going to take some time to get into the rhythm of it. I don't know, but all I can do is try. I don't want to give away everything, but I think based on what you said in your call, in your class today, I think I've done exactly what you described. I did that, but it just may take a little bit longer for him to come around. I thought about putting together a little package with a pre-listing package with, maybe some general information and just dropping it by. But
it's a great idea, but some people might still be freaked out about that. But I would at least do that and just say, hey, here's what I can do. I'm going to drop this off, and then I'm going to call you in 2 weeks. It's just, I think for all of us and people in your position particularly, it's just going to be staying super connected throughout this.
Yeah. Okay.
And not having them feel pressured, but just like, I'm your person. I got your back. I'm going to be there like every step of the way.
Okay.
Hey, Heather, have you
Yes.
ever considered, this is one, have you considered like taking all your material, like wrapping them up in a plastic that's cute as hell, and then hand them and just drop it at their door? Now they're going to appreciate you trying to protect them, and they'll tear it open, and then you'll get it. Just leave it at the door. Boom. And it's pretty plastic protected.
Yeah.
It's an idea.
I've got nothing else. I'll try it.
But this is what's great, because then you can kind of share with us on the call, like, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. I mean, this is also a mastermind of sorts. Like, obviously I'm taking Gary Keller's content and presenting it to the market center, but it's going to be what it looks like as you guys go out on the court and figure out what it is when you do it.
Yeah.
And
well,
I
don't think anybody else, I don't think too many other people are going to do it. So maybe that might set me apart. I don't know, but I'm down to try. So I've got two of those similar situations with two sellers that have reached out. So I have two packages to drop off, and, I think that just for me is going to build some sort of momentum in my mind, because it's one day I'm on and one day I'm off going cuckoo. So for me, I mean, the act of actually doing it, I think it's going to help.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. Love it. I want to acknowledge you guys for being on this call and taking on your business. Some of you I coach, some of you branding coaches, and we're going to be talking to you as we go through. I mean, it looks like we're going to be home at least for another month, right? And we just have a great, but here, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm taking on things that I've been wanting to do for weeks, if not months. and just never had the time, probably years, weeks, not even really years. And this is one of them. As far as, you know, realtors, we came back from family reunion, everything rolled out in February. Very few people in our market center had time to take advantage of it. And here we are, silver lining. We all can set this up. Everybody's home. The people who are going to need to do something are online, you guys, looking at real estate. They are. They're all home. They're going to be home looking at it. They're going to be people who are home and are going to come out of this shelter in place and hate their house.
And you know, it's interesting. I found interesting in this process is that because everybody's home and everybody's starting to get into this virtual meeting,
right?
I've had access to meetings and information that I would probably never have driven to, never registered for, and probably never ever went. But because I'm sitting in my kitchen, bam, I got access to the entire world now. And it's way cool because I have information that I wish I had before that I didn't get. Now I have. What's up, Miles? That now I have. And it's way cool. It is way cool. And look, I did a Twilio text blast the other day. You'd be amazed at some people that responded. I had old people responding. I was like, are you serious right now? Okay. So you know, those are things that I'm trying different. Texting, just little different stuff to kind of get people to say, hey, what's up, Juan? I forgot about you, dude.
Exactly.
So that's the thought. That's the thought, Head. There's a thought.
I hear you. I got you. I'm willing.
All right, guys. So that's all I got. I'm going to be talking to a bunch of you tomorrow. Brandon's going to be talking to a bunch of you today, tomorrow, moving into the next few weeks. And this is really one of the things that is our goal as a market center, to come out of this with at least 50% of us fully set up, taking advantage of this. And oh, by the way, if you are a referral agent, Brandon can show you how to set up these websites and landing pages. And then you just literally call the person back and then pass the lead to somebody who's full-time. There are people who I can tell you, for one, I'm going to talk to him and see if he'll do a Zoom for us on it. So Will Higgins, he's like a good friend of the Inglewood Market Center, but works out in Chino Hills, has landing pages set up and does Facebook ads for Atlanta, Georgia. And he has 8 referral partners in Atlanta, Georgia that he passes leads to every single day, because he wanted to buy an income property and decided that those referral checks was how he was going to do it. So he's already bought the property in New Orleans, which is where he's from. He and his wife are from. And they used the referral funds because they bought a fixer, and that's how they're now fixing it up. So, and this is somebody who also has a very strong real estate business that has a side hustle. It's a side business. So he's got his, you know, Facebook internet leads that he uses to generate business for himself. And then he's become so good at that he thought, well, why don't I set this up and do it so I can start referring deals? And he now has a referral business. So I want you guys to also, for some of you who are like, well, I'm home right now, but when we come out of this, I've got to go back to work. Yeah, this is for you too. You can set up a referral business, and all these full-timers that you guys see on here with us every day, you know, Heather, Juan, Adrian, Bill, they will close your deals and send you 25%. They'll send you that check all day long. No problem.
That's right.
No problem.
No problem.
So if you're not somebody who's doing it full time and you don't have time to fully transact, but you do have time to call somebody back within 3 to 5 minutes and figure out what their needs are, and then put them on a drip campaign that matches those needs. And then when they're ready to go, let them know that you are going to have them do this deal with your team.
You know, commercially. Okay, I see you, Bill.
Say that again?
Bill said even on commercial leads.
Correct. Adrian, what? Oh, okay. You had a question, but we could talk after. So I just wanted to highlight that, because this isn't an opportunity just for like, I'm going to do the deals myself. This is an opportunity where you can create a massive funnel, either here, you know, really anywhere, and you're in a giant system that you get a Facebook lead and somebody says, well, I'm not the one who wants to do it, but my mom is getting moved out of her home because we found a retirement community for her, and I need to sell my house in Alabama. We can get that sold for you. We have a massive referral network on KW Connect. You can find an agent and sell that deal there. Get your referral check.
Do we have anybody for Vegas? Anybody have any agents?
Yes, we do. Gwen Flowers works out in Vegas.
Okay.
She's on our roster.
Okay, great.
And she's a longtime agent, tons of experience. She'll be able to get that done for you all day long.
Okay.
Does anybody else have questions before we go? No? All right, everybody. Thank you for hopping on today. I love seeing all of you.
Thank you.
Okay,
bye, everybody.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you, Nicole. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Holla.
Bye.
Bye.